So for today's first video, we're going to do something a little different. We're going to talk about a video game. Okay, that's not really that different. Although we have been talking about Switch hardware for the last 3 videos, I want to get back to talking about games, because ultimately that's why we play. And today we're talking about Fire Emblem Three Houses. Now, I don't have any information on my side. I haven't gone hands-on with it. You know, all that's available is all that public information. But somebody out there did an oopsie. That somebody being Engadget. So review copies of Fire Emblem Three Houses have already been sent out to some outlets. Unfortunately, outlets that I would like to see get them, like Nintendo World Report, or heck, myself. We can't seem to get approved for review copies. But Engadget did. And I'm not exactly 100% sure when the embargo lifts for previews for Fire Emblem Three Houses, but what I do know is that nobody else has been posting previews, and then Engadget today accidentally sent their preview live. Now, they have since taken it down, but as you know, once something appears on the internet, it's always on the internet, and so now, in front of me, I have the full Engadget preview of Fire Emblem Three Houses. Now, it doesn't contain any story spoilers beyond stuff that's already been revealed publicly by Nintendo, but it is something that we're going to go through. We're going to go through the entire article. I'm going to provide commentary on it, because here is my logic and reasoning behind all of this, and why we're talking about. One, because there's some great information about Fire Emblem Three Houses in this article, and 2, well, Engadget broke the NDA. They broke Nintendo's rules. Nintendo has every right to revoke their access to games in the future. Whether or not Nintendo will, I don't know. But Engadget did this to themselves. They broke NDA. They removed the information. It'll appear back up. I'll put a link down to Engadget since they are the source. Also, a link to where I found a copy of this. Right now, I'm reading it off of Imager because it had the best quality version of it. And honestly, I'm a little disappointed in Engadget, because I have had NDAs in the past with Nintendo, never broken them. They're very clear. NDAs are non-disclosure agreements that basically, for you to have access to the game, you have to agree to. And it tells you what days and what things you're able to talk about at certain times. Engadget broke it. They broke the rules. So, sorry if this is like a call out of Engadget, but it's funny how outlets like them can continue to make mistakes like this, while other outlets that have never made a mistake like that don't get their opportunities. I actually feel worse for Nintendo World Report. It's been like 20 years of them covering stuff, and still they can't get review copies. It's crazy to me. Anyways, let's get into the Fire Emblem preview. This might be a long video. It's a long preview, so let's go. All right, as I said, this is over on Imager here. Fire Emblem Three Houses is a slice of epic life. The school setting evolves the Fire Emblem formula in all the right ways. This article contains no story details, as I said, beyond those revealed in the game's official trailers. There is discussion of some mechanics and procedural details yet to be shown by Nintendo. Fire Emblem Three Houses is a game of fates, and Fire Emblem Three Houses is the game Fates should have been. Developer Intelligent Systems has made a lot of tweaks to its formula for the series' first outing on the Nintendo Switch, and the result of those changes is a game that marries Fire Emblem's dual personalities in a meaningful and satisfying way. If you don't know about Fire Emblem already, a quick primer: it's an almost 3-decade-old tactical RPG franchise from Japan that only came to the West after characters like Roy appeared in Super Smash Bros. Melee on GameCube. It didn't truly rise to worldwide prominence until the release of Awakening on the 3DS in 2012. Fire Emblem games are epic fantasy tales about nobles, knights, and mages, often spanning years. While the series has always been grand, turn-based battles, it's increasingly focused on the relationships between the myriad of characters fighting in them. Three Houses follows this path too, but with the move from 3DS to Switch, it does so in a more accomplished, natural way. Now, what happens between conflicts is just as important as the battles themselves. This has always been true in Fire Emblem. Not always, I guess true for a while though. As much as I enjoy the tactical battles, I gotta admit the story elements and some choices you make in those elements are things I really enjoy about Fire Emblem. It's what hooked me with Awakening, and hasn't really let me go since, although I was a little let down by Fates and Echoes, but we'll see what happens here with Three Houses. Three Houses is set in Fodlan, a continent built into a trio of nations controlled by noble bloodlines. In the center of Fodlan's a monastery that plays home to the Church of Serios, the region's main religion, and in that monastery is an officers' academy where each nation's best and brightest are sent to learn about knighthood. The school is segregated so students from each nation can go into their own classes. So far, this is all stuff that we already know about the game. The setup is somewhat similar to Fates, but your role in the story is very different. As the game begins, the Academy happens to be inducting future leaders of each country. Your character, who can be male or female, is a new professor at this school, and you must choose one of the three houses, and therefore future leaders to teach. Your decision affects how the story will unfold and which character you will end up fighting alongside. So there's a potential replay value here of 3 full playthroughs of the game, at least. Once you've made your decision, things settle into the routine of everyday school life, but it's not long before strange things start occurring. The story then shifts towards the twists and turns Fire Emblem games are known for, and you begin taking your students into increasingly challenging areas. Goodbye, weapon triangle. Interesting. The weapon triangle, by the way, has always been Fire Emblem's way of managing the combat. There's always been a rock, paper, scissors style combat system. So let's see how this works here. In Three Houses, sword does not beat axe, axe does not beat lance, and lance does not beat sword. The rock, paper, scissors system has been a huge part of the Fire Emblem combat, and while this isn't the first Fire Emblem game to drop it, see Gaiden in '92 and its recent remake of Shadows of Valencia, it is still likely to be a contentious decision. In place of the triangle, characters learn combat arts as they study and fight. You'll find a sword that's effective against beasts, an axe that smashes through armor, or a bow that increases your range. These special attacks come at a cost. Fire Emblem weapons usually degrade by a point per attack, but utilizing an art can reduce durability as much as 5 points. So kind of a durability system in there. I don't know if it's not really like Breath of the Wild, but it kind of makes me think of the weapon durability in that game, except you actually can track this durability a bit better. There's actually still some hidden weapon triangle stuff going on. Advanced lance users can unlock the sword breaker skill that makes those duels more favorable, and so on, but it just doesn't play as big of a part in combat as it used to. Instead of putting my axe user inside of a lance wielding enemy, I have devised a strategy to use terrain to my advantage. After initial doubts, I'm all in for the change. The shift to exploiting classes' weaknesses over what weapon is this enemy carrying also makes a lot of sense. It's mirroring the status quo for bows and flyer class enemies and how class effective weapons, which make a return, work. With that said, playing the game at normal difficulty was not particularly challenging. There's mechanics that let you rewind turns if you make an error, and I generally felt over-leveled for a lot of missions. I usually ignore this mode for experienced players, advice the game gives, but this time I wish I hadn't. So this is interesting. And there's your classifications, your mercenary, thief, armored knight, cavalier, brigand, archer. Class description, he's on thief right there. It says skilled at opening locks. The thief has excellent speed and dexterity. Sword is core higher, immediate seal, total 2, odds of passing 100%, blah, blah, blah. So, interesting. Just kind of an interesting look at some differences in Fire Emblem compared to the past. Another thing worth mentioning is reclassing. As your students level up, you'll have them take certification exams to class from. For example, a soldier to Pegasus Knight. To pass exams, a student needs to be proficient enough in the relevant skills. This is similar to old games, but the new bit is that students can be certified in multiple classes at any time, and you can select which class a character enters a battle as. That's really cool. I would like to add it. That's a nice addition to Fire Emblem. That excites me right there. There is no limit to how many classes your character can be certified in, besides the fact that the time is limited, so there's only so many skills you'll be able to level up sufficiently to pass exams. The flexibility is nice, especially later in the game when your needs may shift. So I like this. I like the changes to the combat, at least from what I'm hearing. We'll have to see what it feels like when I go hands-on. But this is, not sounding too bad so far. Fire Emblem games are generally divided into parts and chapters, further establishing the epic fantasy theme. Each chapter has some story development and a large battle in which you control a number of units and attempt to outmaneuver your enemy. Three Houses keeps this conceit, but structures it around a calendar. Months begin with medieval-esque tableau, with a narrator telling you the month's significance to the religious year. This may seem like a window dressing, but it's an effective way to set the tone and build out the larger world. Okay. The calendar is also crucial to the gameplay loop. You still have a big, unavoidable battle each month, but beyond that, there's a new weekly cadence to events. Cadence of Hyrule. I'm just kidding. Like many new things in Three Houses, this expands on intelligent systems experienced in Shadows of Valencia. The approach is somewhat similar to the Persona team using Catherine to experiment before Persona 5. That is true, that did happen, which makes sense as there's a lot of Persona in this game. So begin lesson plans and structure, auto-instruct, group task goals. Okay, cool. Each Monday, you create a lesson plan. in the service. It's so crazy that we're gonna play a Fire Emblem game where we're a teacher and we're making lesson plans, right? Like this, the idea of that is just baffling to me. How many of us are like, oh, we don't want to go to school, and now it's like, hey, now we are the teacher. We're making lesson plans. Hey, we're actually excited about that. Each Monday you create a lesson plan in the service of improving your student skills. The more motivated your students at the start of the lesson, the more they'll learn. Barring some story beats, teaching takes up your Monday to Saturday, and then there's Sunday. This is called free time, but in reality, it's anything but. Sunday is your opportunity to do pretty much everything. Each week, you make a choice: battle, rest, seminar, or explore. In battle, you take your students into either training missions or a story-driven side quest known in Fire Emblem parlance as a paralogue. Rest is also self-explanatory. Relax and boost all your students' motivation level by 50. All right. Little battle area. Let me see. Seminar has a member of staff at the academy. Each teach a few of your students about their specialty. This raises the corresponding stats. Also boosts motivation. That does nothing for those attending the seminar. Then finally, there's Explore, which is the best thing about Three Houses. All right. Let's see here. The big screen. After years of exclusivity on underpowered DS systems, since Awakening, basically. Did we get a Fire Emblem on Wii? I'm trying to remember. Maybe it was back on... I remember playing one on GameCube a lot, but maybe we had one on Wii too. Anyways, after years of exclusivity on underpowered DS system, Fire Emblem's big screen is suitably epic. The art style is like a 3D anime, and it's a welcome change from the crusty, polygonal bodies of Awakening and Fates. While I don't care to count pixels, the game can get a bit fuzzy at times, probably dynamic resolution, I'm guessing. But coming from the 240p presentations on the 3DS, it's a huge improvement. The 2D artwork, the anime cutscenes, the face cards next to dialogue boxes, and especially title cards for each month is also superb. Another area of improvement is sound. Every line of support dialogue is spoken aloud. Full voice acting, yes! And the battle music is fantastic. There's a nice amount of variation to the backing tracks. Things get even a bit wobbly in one of the later missions, but if you don't love rousing orchestral music, you might be in for a bad time. If you don't love rousing, who doesn't like orchestral music? Come on. With that said, there are some teething problems with the move to the Switch. Cutscenes seem to be encoded at 24 frames per second. I was worried about that. I was worried they were going to do the 24, like movies and TV shows are all presented in 24 frames, but games run at 30, 60. It would have been nice to see the cutscenes meet. So it's a little less jarring when you're jumping between gameplay and cutscene, but anyways, i.e. it's a different frame rate from the rest of the game. This leads to a lot of judder. Yeah. And the otherwise excellent clips. This is especially noticeable during slow camera pans on a large TV. That's a nitpick, to be sure, but a more impactful issue is in the in-battle camera. It's good for the most part, but I wish it showed more of the battlefield. There's a handful of camera zoom levels to pick from, but even the most distant, which is this one. This is the most distant. That's the most distant? Oh, man. Okay. Let me see here. Wasn't zoomed out enough for me once the map ballooned in size. Explore mode. So let's get to the exploration mode. He said this is the best part of the game. So let's see. Explore mode then is where it all happens. You wander the monastery, advancing the story, tightening support bonds, and improving your students' motivation. Support is a key part of what makes Fire Emblem tick. When your characters fight next to each other, they bond and improve their support rank, which in turn provides stat boosts in battle. Ranking up is also a catalyst for support conversations, little slice-of-life stories that explore the personalities and motivations of the characters. Three Houses still has that battle-based system, but the majority of the support improvements and conversations in my playthrough took place in Explore mode. What's the point of singing practice? It's not going to make me stronger. Oh, oh. I have no idea. What is the point? Everything you do at the monastery divides into activities and free actions. Each week, you're given activity points. The number raises as you progress, and you spend in a number of ways. You can get instruction from another staff member, have a student take part in a tournament, share a meal, sing in the choir, invite one of your students to tea. This final one triggers a mini game I found creepy, but it admittedly less so than petting. Oh, man, the petting game. Anyways, and so on. There will always be more possible activities than you have points for. Then there are free actions. Things like growing plants in the greenhouse, repairing statues, shopping, exploring the grounds for items, and a pretty nifty fishing minigame. Fishing minigames are... Yeah! Here's the funny thing. I don't actually like real world fishing. I find it kind of boring. But fishing in games, for some reason, is just a lot of fun. Even if it's like simulated real fishing, it seems to just be a hell of a lot more fun than actual fishing. some of my favorite fishing mini games have been in Zelda games, which have some of the easiest, I guess. But it's going to be interesting to see how this one works. And a little aside here to make just making this video longer than it already is. It's already super long. The main draw, though, is the entire school of people to get to know. There are dozens of characters, students and staff alike, to talk to, almost all of whom you can befriend, no matter their house affiliation. Sometimes you'll get a little soundbite, sometimes a full conversation with dialogue choices, and as things progress, people will begin discussing the storyline that's unfolding. The diverse cast of characters really makes the monastery feel alive. That's sweet. I'm glad that it's not like a Hogwarts situation, where, like, you know, there's that one bad, evil side. Like, they all get along. It's all cool. The loading screen features a little pixel art version of the main character, as seen here. You could tilt your Switch or controller to have them run left or right and press B to jump. It's a tiny thing that makes waiting for a battle a little more enjoyable. That's like one of those little Nintendo. I know it's made by Intelligent Systems, but that feels like a little Nintendo touch. Guys, like, remember on a 3DS, you know, when you download a digital game and it's like unwrapping a package and you have like the coins and the Mario jumping, and it's just a neat little way to entertain you. I like stuff like that. Anyways, building rapport is important. It improves your support rank with people, and you can also talk to people from other houses into temporarily joining you for your next battle. Or, if you are knowledgeable in their favorite subjects, defecting and joining your class permanently. Nice. I only achieved this once in my playthrough, and it wasn't that great, as I already had similar units on my team. If I'd actually done some research and targeted someone useful, rather than wandering around giving flowers to everyone, this might have been a real boon in later battles. While you're exploring, characters will offer you quests to complete inside explore mode. These can drive the story forward. For example, please go and look into mysterious ongoings at the chapel. Or be it as meaningless as, help me find this thing for a reward. Side note, people lose their belongings so often at the school that you're given an entirely separate inventory called lost items. That's bad. Alright, occasionally you get a quest in the explore mode that unlocks a mission in next week's battle menu. Okay. So, basically, explore mode is sort of how you advance in the story. Everything else is like practice and leveling and building your characters. But explore mode is kind of like where the meat of story progression happens. This is sounding very different, by the way, from all other Fire Emblem games I played in the past, which is neat. I'm glad like they're doing a different take here. The explore mechanic feels like a natural evolution for the series. Perhaps knowing that some fans might not appreciate this more gentle and admittedly time-consuming exploration, Intelligent Systems has built in some quality-of-life workarounds. To avoid wandering aimlessly, you can fast travel to locations or characters, and there are traditional menus for buying, selling, or repairing things. If you did nothing but menus and fast travel, Three Houses would probably feel a lot closer to a traditional Fire Emblem game. Okay, so you can kind of play it like a traditional game if you really want. All right, that I guess that's a nice option. Let me see here. Problem is, you'd just be missing out on a lot of the scene setting, incidental moments, and character building that push this game beyond those that come before it. All told, the explore mechanics feel like a natural evolution for the series. Yes, it's a little like playing fantasy Persona 5 at times, but the addition of activity points actually improves on that formula for me. While you can't do everything, you don't have to pick just one task. The net result is that you end each free period feeling like a well-rounded human as opposed to someone that spent all their time romancing an age-inappropriate doctor. All right. Three Houses also gets its work-life balance right in the way that Persona games never quite have. You talk to and spend time with people, which boosts support bonds and motivation for lessons, which advances character development, improves your performance in battles. It's an impactful, addictive, and ultimately very comforting loop. Cool. All right. Online and Amiibo. All right, Three Houses has some light online integrations. When deciding what to do each week, you'll see percentages next to each choice indicating the most popular actions. Loading screens similarly throw up charts showing you the world's most used units. Unfortunately, these weren't particularly effective given the game isn't out yet. There's also a feature where distant players can send a representative of sorts into your game and vice versa. I use this mechanic to put up a rare fish for sale to anyone interested. But again, the player pool is so small that no one took me up on the offer, or perhaps my fish just wasn't enticing. My fish wasn't enticing enough. The last of the new tricks is Amiibo support. In the form of Amiibo Gazebo, Amiibo Gazebo. I like the ring of that one. Visiting this location in the monastery and touching an amiibo to your controller will cause random items to spawn, with more interesting pieces reserved for Fire Emblem specific figurines. None of these items are game breaking in a pay to win sense. More often than not, you'll pick up a blend for a tea party or some needs grow in the greenhouse. Explore mode would not work if this game wasn't written well. It is. Ooh, story. Oh no. The terms of the Nintendo's embargo forbid me from talking about the story beyond a major flashpoint around 10 hours in, and I won't want to spoil it anyways. What I will say is Three Houses has some great twists and turns. You know what else Nintendo's embargo forbid you from doing? Releasing this preview today. Yeah, I love that there's a line in there about, oh, the embargo forbids me, but I wouldn't want to do it anyways. Oh, the embargo also I shouldn't be able to read this right now. I shouldn't be able to make this video. This video would not exist if you had just stuck to your embargo, because I don't do videos on previews for games. But if the preview comes out before it's supposed to, suddenly this is information that not a lot of people know about that they should, because it's publicly available now. This is your fault, Engadget. I mean, come on. I get mistakes happen, by the way, but I don't know. I've never made a mistake with an NDA like this. So this is from a professional outlet too, like where it has to go through editors and anyways. Let's see here. The more recent trailers gave away that there's a time skip in this game, which is a shame, as keeping that under wraps would have been amazing. Either way, major characters do some wild things, and you go in expecting to make decisions that completely change how you experience the story. Where Fates often felt rushed, yes it did. Fates felt very rushed in moments. Three Houses takes its time. If you get to know the characters properly through the Explore system, every decision they make is mostly logical, even when you don't see a twist coming. The story did lose the thread a bit as it approached its conclusion, but maybe that was a quirk of my playthrough and the decisions I made. I think this is one of those things where there's going to be multiple endings, at least 3 different ones, if not even more than that. Decision-based games like this can often have a lot of different types of endings. I don't recognize his name. I guess the resemblance could be coincidental. Mercedes. Beyond the main plot, the incidental dialogue is well written, and fully voiced support stories are entertaining. One downside of this newfound freedom was a couple of slightly tone-deaf scenes, most likely because the game expected me to get to know the character earlier than I did. They involved talking about a person who, I'm pretty sure, dies no matter what you do, as though they were still alive. Interesting. That aside, characters in my chosen house offered comedy, tragedy, and everything in between. There are the expected anime and Fire Emblem tropes, of course, but all the students have some degree of depth and motivating factors that explain why they are the way they are. It says a lot that the first thing I did when I finished Three Houses was start over. The game warns you when choices majorly impact the plot, which means I know that I've only experienced one side to the story. And that's just the tale of one house. The first thing I did when I finished Three Houses was start over. Oh yeah, that was probably a highlighted big thing. There's probably a video with it. See, here's the thing, guys. When they finally do release this for real publicly, like there's going to be video clips and stuff, so you guys should go check it out if you like this preview as it is, even though I don't support what happened to make this public in the first place. And there'll be a bunch of previews coming out. So we're on the footsteps of being flooded with Fire Emblem stuff. I don't really plan to make a lot of Fire Emblem videos at my channel, so this might be the only one you get before the game comes out. But just some food for thought. I figured, you know what, we haven't talked about Fire Emblem Three Houses at all, and it's coming. It releases in like 2 weeks, so I figured it was time to at least make this one video on this one preview that happened to hit the world before it was supposed to, and also kind of maybe call out the outlet a little bit for even letting it happen. I know mistakes happen, but all right, let me see here. According to Intelligent Systems, the experience of playing with each faction is unique. I'm around 2 hours into my new Game Plus now, and I've selected a different house. So there is Game Plus. So you don't have to start a new file? Is that what I'm getting out of this? You don't need to start a new file? Or is it just he started a new game after beating it because there's more storylines to do? I'm not sure how this works. Even before the major twists come in, my new students are less uptight than the last batch, and the responses to adversity feels different. Yeah, so I don't... Did he start a new save file? I mean, that's not really new game plus. That's just replayability. New game plus to me is when like you beat the game, but like within that same save file, there's more content you can do after you beat the game. Okay. Anyways, that's just how he described it, I guess. Although I need to crack on with the other houses to see how much they differ. The pitch here is that you're getting 3 games in one rather than paying for 1 game 3 times as you did with Fates and Birthright, Conquest, and Revelation SKUs. It's with 3 paths. The breadth of content on offer here is staggering. Intelligent System says a complete playthrough, i3, all 3 houses, side quests, and support is around 200 hours. So, well, yeah, I mean, if you do everything in Fire Emblem, that's pretty standard. Given you're probably not going to be rushing through a massive game in 4 days because of a tight embargo, that 200-hour figure will likely ring true for you. The first house storyline took me around 45 hours to finish, and I imagine the next 2 will be closer to 60. Then I need to go back and make some different decisions with the first house and maybe the other 2. Pro tip, use multiple save slots to guarantee you can revisit those big decisions. Oh, okay, cool. So, like, save to different slots and then go down different paths. That actually is a really good tip. I never thought about that. In case it wasn't clear, it's going to be a Herculean task. I don't know why. I know how to say Hercules, so I don't know why I'm struggling with that word. To see everything 3 Houses has to offer. Thank goodness, it's so much fun. Fire Emblem 3 Houses will be available on Switch July 29th. So, again, it's just a very nice little succinct preview. I don't want to waste too much of you guys' time because I guess the point of this video is to go through this preview and present you new information. But Fire Emblem 3 Houses just sounds like a very different game. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm actually kind of excited about this game. I've done a very good job avoiding spoilers. I do think this preview actually did a really good job avoiding spoilers as well. Like, he could have talked about more of the story, but he didn't. He just told you how it kind of functions, all the different modes, how story progresses, and how battles work, and the changes of the combat. He just kind of, it was a nice summary of the game. So, to Engadget's credit, whoever wrote this piece did, in my opinion, a very good job presenting a mostly spoiler-free preview of Fire Emblem 3 Houses that really makes me excited. I just wish they didn't break embargo. Oh, man. Especially when I know outlets out there that deserve review copies. Forget me. Nintendo World Report, they deserve review copies. Come on, Nintendo. If any of you guys watch my videos, please give them review copies. I don't care if you never send me a copy, man. I know Neil, he deserves it, man. He works so hard. Is only able to do it because of the support of his followers through Patreon. It's, man, I'm not as reliant on having games. Although if I did get, Nintendo, you want to send me games to review, that's fine. That'll just add more to my channel. But my channel's not really reliant on that content. So, anyways, I don't know. What do you guys think about all this information? I think the most interesting thing is obviously the changes to story progression and the changes to the battle mechanics. Obviously, the opinions on, it being 3 games in 1 and all this, that's obviously a personal opinion that I don't think I can really necessarily agree with until I go hands-on. I understand there's multiple endings. Okay, cool. We'll have to see how it plays out. But what it does seem like, it might be the grandest and largest Fire Emblem game to date, and that, to me, sounds exciting. So I want to hear your guys' thoughts on Fire Emblem 3 Houses. Are you planning to pick it up? What do you think about this preview? What do you think of Engadget breaking embargo, which they shouldn't have done, but maybe you think I'm being a little too harsh on them for it. I'm sure the embargo lifts tomorrow, this weekend, Monday. It's got to be soon if the preview's done. He said he beat the game in 4 days. The game doesn't come out till the 29th, so I don't understand why. That's what confuses me. Like, I've been under embargo before. The game doesn't come out for 2 weeks, so why did he beat it in 4 days? Like, I can get maybe your first run done in 4 days, but I don't know. Again, this isn't a review, though. It's a preview. So, thank you guys for tuning in. I am Nathaniel Rovajets from the Nintendo Prime. And yes, I just put my finger in my ear because I forgot I was on camera. I thought I was just sitting here chilling, talking to a friend. And yeah, I might pick my ear or my nose or something while talking to a friend. I know, it's gross. It's disgusting. I know, okay. But whatever. If you can handle that, drop a like, subscribe for more content. I'll catch you in the next video.